Ladies and gentlemen, we now got a story out of California that is apologizing for doing experiments on inmates. See, that's why they want to strip you of all of your rights and put you at a slave status because they always want a class of people that they can do anything they want to, and you don't have a legal standing of coming back at them. They always want a class of people, and they always happen to want that class of people to look like what they call the Black community. Isn't that amazing? How the face of who they want to dehumanize never changes, is always consistently the same. Okay, UCSF apologizes for prison inmate medical experiments in the 60s and 70s. Are we surprised? No, I would like to thank one of my subscribers, Candy Pervision. Thank you so much for this story. So, nobody should be shocked. They have been consistent. When I did the story on Holmesburg out of Pennsylvania a few months ago, I told you it was way more than that one facility that were doing experiments on the inmates. And here we go. We got another one. So, this is a prominent California medical school that came out and apologized for conducting dozens of unethical medical experiments on at least 2,600 inmates in the 60s and 70s, including putting pesticides and herbicides on the men's skin and injecting it into their veins. That is just heinous. It's amazing how y'all never want to do these experiments on people that look like you. That's a consistent pattern, too. So, two dermatologists at the University of California, San Francisco, one of whom remains at the university, conducted experiments on men at the California Medical Facility, a prison hospital. And I think that's Vacaville. That's about 50 miles northeast of San Francisco. The practice was halted in 1977. So you probably did it for way more than 10 years. That's what it looks like. So the university program for historical reconciliation issued a report about the experiments earlier this month, writing that the doctors engaged in questionable informed consent practices and performed procedures on men who did not have any of the diseases or conditions that the research aimed to treat. The San Francisco Chronicle first reported the program findings this past Wednesday. UCSF apologizes for its explicit role in the harm caused to its subjects, their families, and our community by facilitating this research, and acknowledges that the institution's implicit role in perpetuating unethical treatment of vulnerable and underserved populations. You know what they mean by that, y'all. You know what they mean by that. Unbelievable. Regardless of the legal or perpetual standards of the time. So this came from Executive Vice Chancellor Dan Lowenstein. This is what he said in a statement. The report said further analysis is needed to determine the extent of harms caused to the prisoners as a result of the experiments and what the university should do in response. See, this is why reparations, this is just driving home the fact of reparations needed. You know, that story that I put out yesterday about the Asians are pushing Joe Biden to come up with a commission to do reparations for African Americans. Well, let me just talk about that a little briefly because this story just solidifies why reparations is needed, in addition to many other things that have been done. Ladies and gentlemen, one thing about Congress, Joe Biden, and the Senate, they're all gaslighting us. And what do I mean by that? When the subject of reparations come up, they always tell us it will never pass. It won't pass in Congress. Oh, it won't pass if it goes to the Senate. They're full of crap. One thing that the Asians brought out when they did that letter, when it came time for them to get their reparations, it was done by executive order. It didn't have to go through Congress. It didn't have to go through the Senate. All it required for the Japanese when they went into internment camps to get their reparations, they did a commission and then an executive order was done. But when you go back and listen to this Congress and this Senate, they always say that it'll have to go through them and it won't pass. They're lying to all of us. Joe Biden have the ability, because past reparations show this, to just do a stroke of a pen in an executive order and reparations can happen. It does not have to be passed through no Congress and Senate. They're just telling us another stall tactic. They hope that if they tell you this, then you'll get discouraged and stop bringing up reparations. But if you go and look at the Asians, they did not have to go through any House of Representative or Senate. Keep that in mind the next time it comes up and they tell you it will never pass. It doesn't have to pass. The president can just sign it, plain and simple. So let's get back to this story. So they're saying we are still in the process of considering I'm sorry, the recommendations and determining appropriate next steps, the university said in a statement Thursday. As we do so, it will be with humility and ongoing commitment to a more just, equitable, and ethical future. But you know what, y'all? Do you really trust these people? I mean, just look at the pattern. They will destroy you and then come back and say they're sorry. Then they'll come back and destroy you and then come back and say they're sorry. Look at the pattern. Look at the pattern. Didn't we hear this same thing out of Holmesburg, Pennsylvania, when I did that story? And we found out they experimented for years and years and years from the 50s all the way to the 70s. They did all these experiments on Black men, inmates. And then they came out with the same lame stuff, and the most of those men have since died. Some died from the experiments that were done on them. And see, that's the thing that I don't like, that's missing from this story. They don't tell you how many lived and how many died due to these experiments that were done by the medical students and people in medical field that went in there and did all kinds of experiments on these inmates. They don't tell you what the ratio of those that survived and those that did not die or died directly from what they were injecting or putting on their skin. They withhold that information. However, the agency in California Correction Healthcare Services strive to ensure the incarcerated population receive appropriate health care that meets the community standards of care and ethics. You know what? Where's the money? How come you're not financially compensating these inmates or at least their family. What you're offering, you need to be offering compensation. You took healthy men and did treatments on them that potentially messed up their health. We don't know what condition these men were in because they don't even tell you. And, it's really sick. We know pesticides and herbicides, many of them cause cancer. And they are also contributors to environmental cancer. So, ladies and gentlemen, these incarcerated men were paid $30 for their participation among the highest paid roles in prison in high demand, according to a 1977 article the university's student paper put out. All right, so the synapse. So the other experiments, including placing small cages of mosquitoes close to participants' arms or directly on their skin to determine host attractiveness of humans to mosquitoes, the report said. The research ended in 1977 when California prohibited subject research in state prisons a year after the federal government halted the practice. Look at that, y'all. So they did this on the state and federal level. So this government is very much involved in these experiments. The US government is involved with these prison inmate experiments that are done. We already know this government owes us big time. We already know. Wow. So, Epstein in 1977 testified in hearings in support of biomedical experimentation at prisons. The report found the investigators could not find any evidence that he changed his opinion before he died. So, this is somebody that did experiments and they were all for it. While Maybach wrote that he regrets having participated in research that does not meet current standards. In a letter to the university dermatology department, he said he believed the experiments had offered benefits to some of the patients. What I believe to be ethical as a matter of course 40 or 50 years ago is not considered ethical today. I do not recall in any way in which the studies caused medical harm to the participants. You know what? He's full of crap. Number one, if these experiments are not going to cause medical harm, how come you don't do it more on your people then? It's awfully funny when these experiments must be done and you got this kind of, "Oh, I don't think it's gonna do medical harm." Then do it on your people then. Go find your people and do it on them. You sure don't know they don't know what that is when it comes time to do these experiments. They don't know what the hell that is. Alright, so Maybach's son, Edward Maybach, wrote an email Thursday to the Associated Press that his father had suffered a stroke last week and was unable to respond to the press inquiries. The younger Maybach said his father had not been allowed to meet with the report's author or access their documents. The report and a press release from the university, he wrote, treated his father as a lone ranger who seemingly acted without knowledge or approval at other UCSF. This too is incorrect. So Dr. Maybach activities were known to and endorsed by UCFS administrators, including UCSF ethics. Edward Maybach wrote. Now, they all endorsed this mess. I mean, you would not have carried it out if you didn't get all the necessary approval to do this on these inmates. So, y'all, there's more and more that can go on that list of why reparations are definitely, it should be mandatory, plain and simple. So, y'all, please tell me what you think about this story. I think it's disgusting. And, you know, whenever they want to strip something away from you, you can best believe the intentions are cynical. And you can best believe whatever they're about to do, it's going to be evil, demonic. Please leave your comment and subscribe. Don't forget to hit on the notification bell, and I'll see you on the next video. Peace, family.